Shocking facts about black culture and the origins of people of color in East Asia before they became white. Asian history no one knew about till now. There has been no evidence to support the notion that persons of Asian descent historically had a darker skin tone. In spite of the fact that the out-of-Africa idea is largely accepted, the primary goal of scientists is to find evidence that can establish it as a law. And now, several photographs of Asian people from the 17th, 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries that aren't widely recognized or seen have surfaced, shifting the entire paradigm in the process. It is difficult to demonstrate that Africans were the original inhabitants of Asia because most persons of Asian descent are either white or brown, and there are several facts about black culture and the origins of people of color in East Asia before they became white no one knew about before now. However, if we delve further into history, it becomes much darker and more profound than before. There was a black population in Asia, particularly in China. However, this should not be confused with black people who came directly from Africa for the sake of trading or other enterprises. Instead, we are referring to people who have unique facial features, similar to those of contemporary Chinese people, but who have a darker skin tone. Despite the fact that this might be a fact, very few individuals are aware of it. The fact that you are unaware of it is evidence that crucial moments in history were left out of the historical records. To our good fortune, however, photos that have been saved of the Chinese people shed light on what history has overlooked. The black and white Manchu ladies. Once upon a time in China, there existed a powerful dynasty known as the Qing. This empire, which was dominated by the Manchu people and lasted from 1644 until 1912, was frequently characterized as being both extensive and multi-ethnic. Visitors from Europe traveled to China in the middle to later part of the 1800s and took black and white photographs that captured the essence of the country. John Thompson, an Irishman who had a passion for exploring the beauty that can be found all around the world, was one of these daring photographers. A mystical force was contained within the lens of Thompson's camera. It displayed a China that was rich in wonders and full with startling varieties of people and things. In one of his most amazing photographs, a group of 6 women were seen congregating in a picturesque courtyard. The event took place in the busy metropolis of Peking, which is now known as Beijing, in the year 1869. The caption referred to the women as Manchu ladies having a meal. In the middle of the picture were 2 women, each having their own interesting history to tell. On the right, there was a typical high-class Manchu woman who exuded grace and elegance, and on the left, there was someone who was unusual and unique. Everyone who looked at the image was immediately drawn to the subject, a beautiful black woman who was beaming with joy and exuding charisma. You have any idea how incredible that is? Thompson did not differentiate between any of these women in any way when he was describing them. Even though there were obvious distinctions in their appearance, and some of them may have been servants or attendants, he perceived all of them as simply being Manchu ladies enjoying a nice supper together. In his view, these were intriguing issues that made up a vibrant part of the fabric that comprised China. Girl from Lao Kai. Once upon a time, a skilled French photographer by the name of René Titard was able to capture a young girl's mesmerizing likeness at a place called Lao Kai, which was tucked away among the magnificent highlands of northern Vietnam. This young lady was a sight unlike any other. The photographer was awestruck by her allure because of how she carried herself. Lao Kai was a well-known figure in history. During the ancient periods of the Tang dynasty, it was a part of a southern province that was known as Annam. This name, which means pacified south in the language of the empire that previously dominated these areas of China, was given to this province. This young girl was an ancestor of one of the non-Han Chinese ethnic groups that called the region home back in those days, and it was a melting pot of cultures back then, as well as a melting pot of numerous cultures. The population of Han Chinese shifted southwards as the years passed, and the once various communities either moved further south or gradually adopted the practices of the dominant society. The girl's outward presentation, including her haircut, jewelry, and dress, now showed the cultural assimilation into the customs of China that she had undergone. Wise historians such as Thant Myint Ou, who produced works such as Where China Meets India, were the ones who were responsible for recording the stories of these long-ago eras. In this book, he discussed a Chinese anthropologist by the name of Fan Chou, who worked throughout the 9th century to construct the Book of the Southern Barbarians, also known as the Manchu. It was a fascinating collection of stories about the numerous peoples who lived in and around Yunnan, including the Wumen, often known as the Black Southern Barbarians, due to the darker complexions that they possessed. A French photographer working in the province of Yunnan. A fascinating shot was taken in the early 1900s in the province of Yunnan in China. It was taken at a time when the French were working hard to construct a railway across the rugged territory that they controlled. The subject of this mesmerizing portrait is the French photographer Georges Auguste Marbeau, who is shown standing alongside 3 children from China. Indeed, these young people displayed distinctive physical traits that are typically observed in the southern parts of China. Nevertheless, one of the boys who was crouching next to Marbeau and had a strikingly dark skin stood out from the other 2. This young boy, who was unaware that his photograph would become iconic, provided evidence that black ancestors existed in China, a group of people sharing a meal together. In the year 1869, a well-known photographer by the name of John Thompson set off on a trip to the lively region of Hong Kong, which is a bustling city located in the Guangdong province of China. He had no idea that the photograph he took of a family eating together would turn out to be one of the most heartwarming moments of his career. A tall and graceful woman takes center stage in this hypnotizing picture. She is encircled by 2 males, possibly her husband and father, who are seated at a little round table in the background. Their young children join them, bringing the gathering of their family together full circle. The table itself has its own story to tell, since it bears the traces of the food they ate together. When one looks at the woman, it is clear that she comes from a family with a long and illustrious history, and that her appearance is the result of an exquisite fusion of features from many different cultures. The fact that she has a dark complexion and facial features that are similar to those of the older man is a strong indicator of the unusual heritage she comes from. These exceptional characteristics are reflected in the children's hairstyles, which are a reverberation of the haircuts worn by their parents and grandparents. The traditional fringe that are worn by the women, as well as the long braids and half-shaven heads that are worn by the men, serve as a subtle reminder of the fashion that was popular during the old Qing dynasty. 2 young women in Pei Nin Tin. An American photographer by the name of Sidney D. Gamble set out on a mission in the early 1900s to picture moments that history had neglected to record. During that time, his camera caught an endearing moment and preserved it for all time in a location that he referred to as Pei Nin Tin. In the middle of his shot were 2 sweet little children, their naivete encapsulated between the years 1917 and 1919, as though it had been frozen in time. Gamble set off on a mission to find some answers since he was eager to learn more about the mysteries surrounding this enthralling area. However, despite his efforts to find the site, it evaded him and continued to captivate him with its mystique and mystery. Even the extensive resources of the internet, as exemplified by a search conducted on Google, were unable to get the expected outcomes. Gamble's perseverance in the face of adversity caused him to take a new route. When he looked through the archives on Google Books, he came across a bit of good fortune that he hadn't expected. A promising lead surfaced within the old pages of the Book of Knowledge. The area that he was looking for turned out to be the hilly region of Pei Nin Tin, which was situated in the scenic district of Beidaihe in China. These photographs challenged the prevailing narrative that Asian people were always white or brown, showcasing individuals with dark complexions and African features within various regions of China. This provides evidence of the diverse heritage and ancestry of Asian populations and suggests that African genes may have been part of Chinese ancestors until the 19th century. Shocking events released about black culture no one was supposed to know. Click on the next video to find out more now.